Julie here with Sirius Dallas Moon. Happy Soul Day. And Soul Day is a great time to call on Apollo. Apollo, as the god of creation, creativity. Creation is a big word. Creativity and the god of removing of tyrannical um, behavior, whether it's governance or people behavior. And this is a great time. Look at this Soul Day. Sun in Scorpio, this sign of the Genesis, the sign of transformation, transmutation, um, and in many ways associated with birthing as nature. It's ruled by Mars, and this is a sign where sometimes people tend to obsess about what is natural. And we see the Pluto from Aquarius squaring Scorpio as the natural things becoming um, imitated, cloned, and then people tend to obsess about the no, the cloning of something, cloning of nature, being inauthentic, the DNA. Um, However, we are reminded that the true shine of the personality is about conception, and the opposite of Scorpio is basically Taurus, is the peace. And without that peace, without that nourishment, without that rest, without that relaxed arousal into orgasm, um, at the moment of conception, we do not have the embodiment needed for the bloodline to come out as the truth. And so this is where the grand trine in the sky, okay, with Black Moon, Lilith, Jupiter, Saturn, is a trine of the water of conception, preconception, fertility. In Cancer, we need nourishment, care that is not about control, but about actual care. Scorpio is the deep water of the well, the water of transformation, going into the deep and having this courageous. Fearless is, how should I say that? Another way to say fearless is being courageous, is transmuting fear into courage. The courage to talk about the things that are not spoken. It's a natural courage that has to do with the water of preconception, Pisces. Pisces is where the end of Pisces is where the water breaks and the head of the baby appears. And this is a great time to remind ourselves that the personality, sun, is not just about the bloodline, the DNA, and even cloning or not cloning, but about a union, a tantric union, willing consent that is not programmed, that is natural, willing consent, a good balance between rest and expansion and contraction, okay, which is a part of the birthing process. It's relaxed arousal into waves of expansion and contraction. It's an orgasmic process of creation, and for that, we need to be able to enjoy with the feminine being orgasmic, with the masculine being attuned. Um, and that conception as orgasmic conception, as the breaking of the water, that is the water. Okay? And that means transmuting everything that is not. That means birthing with the perception of orgasmic conception. Anything that's not willing consent, anything that's not orgasmic conception, anything that's not relaxed arousal, um, balance between expansion and contraction, not artificial one, not mimicry one, authentic and natural one. It's no use to obsess about whether someone is cloned or not, because even a cloned baby, okay, even a cloned baby brought into a setting of love that is actually loving will not grow to be psychopathic. Even a person that grew within those settings and rebelled them and became ritual abuse survivor offered the motherly love and the ability to shine as they are will not be psychopathic. And yet to treat a psychopath or to treat a pedophile or a sadistic whatnot, it takes changing society. We can't just put a person in supposed isolation conditions where they're permeated to mind control and then bitch about them not recovering. Recovery means completely different economy. Recovery means awareness that each and every Kundalini energy and life energy is also interconnected with its own resources, geological, political, spiritual, real estate, and the harvesting of souls is what manufactured twisted version of abundance. There's actually not abundance. Okay? It's sending ripples of confusion into a broken society. That's not abundance. That's not wealth. That's not truth. That's not benevolence. That's not fertility. That's not conception. Now, here is the thing. In the most twisted versions, they would get the mother to horrifically abuse the children by horrifically abusing the mother. And I was shown this by people, even judges in systems and networks that are the equivalent of Rolodex. How the mother that was beaten in pregnancy births basically the conditions to create an abuser. And yet, the creation of evil is that which is artificial, that which is unnatural. It's turning nature upon itself. Because it's not given the relaxed, the peace without reason. It's given the peace as pacifier before treasons. This is also why this type of behavior really has nothing to offer also business-wise. And also to its greatest business people, Bilderberg and Belsen, okay? or whichever business lineage, the raiding of Mar-a-Lago, the exposure of extortion cult in an onset, the off with their heads, people grown into Pinocchio settings. And what do I mean by Pinocchio settings? They are created, they are crafted rather than created, which is the cloned, but not cloned with benevolence. They are crafted to be in the image of Geppetto, and everybody blames Pinocchio, but nobody blames Geppetto. And then Pinocchio naturally rebels Geppetto, but it also doesn't have anything to turn to, which is the analogy of the secret society's initiation process into Pinocchio being a pathological liar to itself and to others, although its soul continuously rebels and has no ground to hold on. And only in that condition they are given wealth. They are given, okay, they are being praised for evil. In Kabbalistic esoterics, there's the myth of creation, Book of Yetzirah, which is the myth of creation of the golem, that perhaps have inspired Frankenstein story. And this is the creation of a person in a way that it would be puppeted. But if it would be puppeted, it would be destroyed. And if it is rebelled, they try to destroy it. If it is rebelling, they try to destroy it. Because let's be honest, if it would be compliant with the puppeteering, it would be destroyed, whether by extortion cult, by exposure, by treason, or by sacrifice. And if it rebels, it ignites the fire of creation that these societies always want to harvest on. And yet, to bring children to this society, the process of creation itself needs to be rejuvenated. And it's not returned to what was. Because what was that people sacrificed baby to Diana and Isis and Venus and Aphrodite to have children. And this is, okay, men wanted to be chosen, so they would sacrifice a child to have babies to the goddess of fertility. And this is how the goddesses of fertility were allowed to be turned over. And then the cloning project began, where there was a complete upturn of trying to subjugate nature with violence rather than with attunement. And they keep persisting the sacrifice, and this created yet another division. But the actual golden ages are not of sacrifice. They're not of human sacrifice. This is why they talk about the ages where the earth, where the soil is organic and the food is actually nourishing. And some people even talk about veganism or vegetarianism. If that is correct, then this is because the soil is actually nourishing enough so that the vitamins are absorbed. And this is where the birth is orgasmic. And it's about willing consent. It's about the tantric union. And that which is ritual abuse, supposedly to train the shamans, believing that people cannot be free. No, it's not true. Because When people are grown, sovereign, the easiest people to manage are sovereign people. They manage themselves. And as they rebel, their parents, they don't go into youth movements, but rather they organically begin to express themselves in society and bring new, the new abundance, the updated trajectory. Think about the Uranus in Sagittarius millennials. They were just beginning to look into how their ailments stem from maladaptive society and maladaptive religion and tradition, while the Gen Zers set the record straight. This is why Gen Zers, a lot of them are even more religious, because they are religious with the authentic religion. Okay, they could even take Aleister Crowley and make something that is benevolent of it, like women connecting with the feminine archetypes that are both protected of whether it's the child or their own beauty, and attuned to their own beauty and power, not as molestation. Like they would take Nazi occultism and would find in it reason that is benevolent and transmute the Nazi occultism. They might not even be aware that they're doing that. They would take the telema and would make of it benevolent. Shedding like leaves, or they would take the working place and set it a standard that it was what the millennials. Please, thank you. What the millennials we have. I definitely took over all the glasses, and now I have a drink in actually a bowl. I have to do the dishes. But this is what the millennials were told is utopia. Gen Z is set as a standard at the workplace, at money, at economy. To them, it's obvious. This is why, from the perspective of where the basis is not met by soul harvesting, because each soul and energy and that is embodied has enough, not by outside definition, is natural for things to manifest. It's only by putting so much energy into perpetuating intense trauma in people from conception that the soul harvesting timelines, or the Holocaust timelines, or the genocide timelines, or the treason timelines can get any hold on the people of the earth. And each and every time humanity sees it anew, and more layers and facets are exposed, and more technology. Think about the technology we have today. Social media, YouTube. The attempt to take over of social media is, if they go on one content creator, 7 others are created. If they try to entrap one into the network, 7 others are. I just want you to take a look at this post. Nee, not this one. Thank you, Carla. I just want you to take a look at this post. family album. Okay? They try to get one person into a network, and there are many more names here, and then that happens. With all the information about how torturing infants and electing only the pure evil behavior, the creation of the Pinocchio as the golem, as the Frankenstein, that still gets tortured when they don't comply to the system. Even with all the evil that they create, they have to work so hard to perpetuate that evil. And this is exactly what happens. People were thinking about an Epstein list. Wow. This is exactly what happens when there are attempts to control more and more and more and more and more, and then boom. But it didn't come out as the off with their heads. This post is not about off with their heads. This post is about what is the result of society that had eradicated behavior of benevolence, unless that benevolence is used for extortion. It doesn't come off as playing to the hands of extortion cults. And those people, so a little bit familiarity with figures. Okay, that's that's the person who was in charge of juristic system in Netherlands, the country where the International Court of Law, where people are litigated for war crime, okay, are. So this was the Supreme Court of Netherlands. This guy, I don't know, opposition in Netherlands, this leader of right-wing populist leaders that supported the deporting immigrants. That's the guy who decide when do they activate Article 5, namely a world war. He's also weapon and and of course associated. I think there's a royal family within elites. And the issue about this is that when we are talking about tyranny, we're talking about behavior. We're not talking about the person. We're not talking about the regime. We're talking about behavior. And when, since conception, there are projects that operate, that guy is in the role that is supposed to juristically protect it. That guy is in one of the roles that's supposed to nationally funnel the budget to it. That guy is in the role that's supposed to make sure that all the nations funnel the budget to it, while suffering from what this classified budget project is doing. Okay, then there are the royal families, which are the diplomacy with kind of like the oil giants that are usually monarchies, um, bankers, and so on and so forth. And this is basically a situation where everybody suffers. Okay, that that though that family book is visible in this context because those who consolidate wealth wanted it to be visible. They want us to take a look at evil and say, oh, this is the face of evil. Oh, look, this is the face of evil. No, it's not. Take any one of these faces, grow it into society that's actually benevolent, no evil. And to birth children is only the society that is actually benevolent, not just toward children, but towards all these people.